Economic Survey 2018-19 states that India's working age population constitutes 62.5% of India's total population. Working age population, that is age group between 15 and 59. What this shows is that India have potential demographic dividend. To reap this potential demographic dividend, we need employment. In this analysis of Margi newspaper simplified, we will discuss the issue of unemployment. On this issue of demographic dividend and unemployment, UPSC has asked question in 2014. That is, while we found India's demographic dividend, we ignore the dropping rates of employability. What are we missing while doing so? Where will be the jobs that India desperately needs come from? Explain. That was question in 2014 relating demographic dividend with dropping rates of employability. Today we are discussing this issue of unemployment due to there is article on explained page of the Indian Express, that is, young India's first concern is a lack of jobs, first choice is in the government. Also in Economic Times there is one news article, urban joblessness more than doubled in first quarter of the pandemic. If you have followed current affairs in the recent past, you must be aware that Haryana has passed a reservation bill which give 75% reservation in a private sector jobs to the locals. What all this show is that a serious concern of joblessness in India. Before moving towards our discussion, first we will see what exactly is unemployment is. For understanding what unemployment is, we must understand the concept of labor force. What is labor force? By internationally accepted definition, all persons who are working or have a job, and though not working but are seeking and available for work are deemed to be in labor force. All those people who are working or having a job and all those who are actively searching for jobs or need jobs are constitute labor force. Those who are not working or do not searching for the jobs do not constitute labor force, so they are not considered for unemployment related data. How unemployment ratio is calculated then? It is unemployment ratio is obtained by dividing number of those unemployed with the total number of persons in the labor force. Means it is basically a ratio of those people those that are unemployed in total workforce. How NSSO defines unemployment or employment, that we will see. NSSO is basically National Sample Survey Organization. It states that in India, a person is considered unemployed if he works for less than 14 hours per week. According to NSSO, if any person is working for less than 14 hours per week, then he is considered unemployed. Those who work for 15 to 20 hours per week are considered underemployed. Those working for 15 to 28 hours per week are underemployed. Person working for 8 hours per week or 273 days for the year is considered as fully employed person. So that is the NSSO's way of looking at the unemployment. NSSO, you must be aware that it releases periodic labor force survey which give us idea about unemployment status. We must be clear with certain terms related to unemployment. One is involuntary unemployment. What is an involuntary unemployment is that person is ready to work in prevailing labor conditions, prevailing market conditions, but he do not find a job. Situation in which person is willing to work but there is no work for them. That is called as involuntary unemployment. There is a second type, voluntary unemployment. It is can be said as a self unemployment. Means person is not searching for the job, though he is person is fit to work but he is not searching for the job. It's called voluntary unemployment. Then there is another type term, that is underemployment. Means person's capacities or abilities are not fully utilized in a labor market. Consider a person holding a PhD degree or any higher kind of classification working for clerical jobs, then that person can be said as underemployed. Then we will look for types of unemployment. First is a seasonal employment. You must be aware that such kind of unemployment is seen in rural India, especially in agriculture sector. What is seasonal employment is that a person works for 4 or 5 months or certain period in a year, but other than that he is unemployed. This may be due to the agriculture, as agriculture when there is agriculture season he is employed. Then such kind of lean season can be seen in a tourism, in a person working in a marriage bands. When there is a lean season for such kind of activity, they are unemployed. So that kind of unemployment is called seasonal unemployment. Then there is another type of unemployment, disguised unemployment. What is disguised unemployment? It is a one way of invisible unemployment. Means person is seen to be working somewhere, but his work is not helpful for more production. Consider example of agriculture farm. Suppose 10 persons are working there. If you reduce 2 or 3 people from that, then there is no effect on a production level, even when we subtract their work. Such a kind of employment is called disguised employment, where the additional labor's marginal productivity is 0. Then there is another type of unemployment, educated unemployment. As the term suggests, person is educated, qualified, also willing to work, but he is not finding the work. Since such kind of unemployment is called educated unemployment. This may be due to various reasons, such as the person may lack employable skills though he is educated. There is a lack of awareness about educational or employmental opportunities. Many reasons can be cited for that. Then there is another type of unemployment, that is structural unemployment. Economic structure changes from the time to time. When such structural changes happen, there is this kind of unemployment emerges. In such kind of unemployment, there is a mismatch between the skills of the workers and that of requirement of the economy. Consider examples of a computerized typing. When computerized typing was introduced, there is obvious that though person who are manual typist will lose their job. Then there is another type of unemployment, cyclical unemployment. You must be aware that business or economic cycle consists of expansion and recession. When there is expansion, there is a demand for good. When there is a recession, there is a slack or there is effective demand of good fall. So what industrialists do? They cut the industrial workers. So it creates unemployment. Then there is another type of unemployment, frictional unemployment. This is a temporary type of unemployment when a certain worker or certain person is looking for a better job. He left his first job and is in a transition of moving towards second job. Such kind of temporary unemployment is called frictional unemployment. Then we will look what exactly Indian Constitution says about unemployment or employment related issue. You must be aware that Indian Constitution begins with the preamble which states and gives Indian citizens justice, social, economic and political. Such justice, comprehensive justice of social, economic and political will not be possible without productive employment or employment. Then Article 21 of the Constitution deals with the protection of life and personal liberty. This protection of life or Article 21 is not merely about animal existence. It deals with a dignified life. Supreme Court of India in various judgments have again and again emphasized on this aspect of the dignified life. In Narendra Kumar West State of Haryana in 1994, Supreme Court stated that a right to livelihood is an integral facet of right to life. A right to livelihood is integral facet of right to life. That is in the Narendra Kumar West State of Haryana 1994. Then in Olga Telly's case with Bombay Municipal Corporation 1981, again Supreme Court said that right to work was recognized as a fundamental right inherent in the right to life. Article 41 of the Constitution in Directive Principle of State Policy state that right to work, to education, to public assistance in certain cases. There is a provision for public assistance in case of unemployment in this Article 41. Article 43 of the Indian Constitution deals with the living wage for the workers. So, Constitution talks about living wage for the workers. Then United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. In that declaration, Article 43 deals with the right to work in employment of one's choice and the state responsibility to safeguard this right. What Article 23 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights state? Right to work in employment of one's choice and the state responsibility to safeguard this right. Also, various sustainable development goals deals with this. Especially Sustainable Development Goal 8 deals with the decent work conditions. Also, Sustainable Development Goals 10 deal with the reduced inequality. Such kind of goals will not be achievable unless and until we provide enough jobs to the people. Many people will state that due to COVID pandemics, unemployment has become serious. But various statistics show that before COVID pandemic also, unemployment issue is a serious concern. According to Center for Monitoring Economy, just before the COVID crisis, at the end of 2019-20 financial year, India had around 35 million or 3.5 crore openly unemployed people. So what Center for Monitoring of Indian Economy states that this is not after the COVID, the issue is serious beforehand also. Due to COVID, the seriousness has more increased as stated in a World Bank's report of poverty and shared prosperity. Also, Center for Monitoring of Indian Economy states that more seriousness of joblessness has increased. Now we will look at the reasons for India's job crisis. What happened after independence? Our policymakers or economists believed that once we achieved a certain high rate of growth, we will achieve an employment also. They believed that high growth will trickle down to lower strata, employment generation will happen. But till 1990s or till 1991, that is till economic reforms, we were unable to achieve such kind of high growth. You must be aware that till 1991, India's growth journey is termed as a Hindu rate of growth. That is, we were not going beyond 3.5% GDP. But after 1990s, we have achieved a high growth. Means in 1990s, real GDP growth averaged 5.7%. 1990 to 2000, we have averaged 5.7% GDP. In 2000s, that is 2000 to 2010, we have average GDP 7.3%. Especially in 2004 and 2008, we have average GDP more than 9%. Still achieving this high GDP, we were not able to fulfill the kind of jobs that were needed. So the journey of India's growth story, we can say that after 1991 is termed as a jobless growth. UPSC has asked question in 2015 in this regard, which states that the nature of economic growth in India in recent times is often described as a jobless growth. Do you agree with this view? Give arguments in favor of your answer. So, though we have achieved growth rate of high, but the type of growth we are achieving or experiencing is a jobless growth. Second issue is that the Indian economy has a structural problem of excessive dependence on agriculture. At the time of Indian independence, we were having about 72% Indian population dependent on agriculture. We have reduced that population to up to 42 to 50% in recent past, but still this is a huge number. So what happened is that the sector that is on which population is dependent more is contributing to less to the economy. Agriculture's contribution to GDP is 15 to 17%, while service sector, though contributing less to the employment, it is contributing about 55% to the GDP. So service sector is not providing that much jobs, and agriculture is not that much contributing to economic activity. Then in India's growth process, has been a missing link. What is that missing link? Relative earlier maturing of service sector compared to manufacturing sector. The UPSC has asked question related to manufacturing sector's inability to generate growth. What is that question? Account for the failure of manufacturing sector in achieving the goal of labor intensive exports rather than capital intensive exports. Suggest measures for more labor intensive rather than capital intensive exports. What happens is that generally in developed country or other countries which have achieved growth as well as employment, there is a seen a linkage, that is, first there is a growth of agriculture, then there is growth of manufacturing, then there is a growth of service sector. But India, we have directly moved our service sector, so that missing link is hampering our growth prospect as well as employment generation. How that hamper employment generation is that there is a clear linkages between the manufacturing and agriculture sector. First, manufacturing sector is very labor intensive, so the excess of agricultural laborers can move to the manufacturing sector. Then there is a linkage of raw material between agriculture and manufacturing. Also, agricultural sector can contribute as a market to the manufacturing sector. So this linkage in India's context has not been developed. When we consider the growth story of China, we clearly see such kind of linkages. When economic reforms were initiated in China, they started with the agriculture, that is a primary sector. When they achieved success in a primary sector, they moved on to another sector. What that created is that such a kind of success created a legitimacy, political legitimacy in minds of a common people, that such kind of reforms are all helpful for us, and it gave impetus to the further reforms. So that we can understand from the China's experience. Then there is another issue of employability of India's working age population. If you consider various reports such as India's skill report or India's skill report, it states that 47% of India's graduates are not employable. So there is a skill mismatch between the need of industry and India's youth. One reason for that is that our quality of education is weak. We have focused more on accessibility rather than quality. Consider the example of engineering. There are about 15 lakh seats per annum in India about engineering. Though India's economy is 2.7 trillion, we have 15 lakh seats for engineering. Consider the example of America, 20 trillion economy, still very less seats for engineering than India. Also, government initiative like right to education have emphasized more and more on accessibility, but not on that much on quality. Then, as we discussed in today's Margi Morning, there is also issue of twin culture in India's higher education system. What is twin culture? The concept originally given by C.P. Snow is that we have compartmentalized our higher education system. Means humanity is divorced from the technical education. Such kind of divorce or such kind of compartmentalization lead that narrow thinking. In today's world, where the problems are multidimensional, where the problems where solution needs to be multidimensional, such kind of compartmentalization hamper employability of Indian youth. Then employment generation also needs certain kind of enabling conditions like infrastructure development. Such kind of infrastructure development is lacking in India, especially rural road, cold stage storage, etc. Then employment's issue its severity can be understood more from that the people who are working are also working poor. Means though on the paper or in statistics they are working in a very low productive sector, on the low productive employment. Majority of the people are employed in informal or unorganized sector where they lack any kind of social security and work in a very less wages. So this kind of situation make our unemployment issue or employment issue more severe. What is another issue is that our our economy is characterized by mass poverty. Majority of the population still lives in abject poverty. What happens is that such a kind of people do have a certain kind of skills, but they cannot utilize their skill for entrepreneurship because they lack capital, as their savings are very less because they need their income for day-to-day expenses. So what this create, they cannot generate productive employment on their own. Then we will look what can exactly be done to overcome this issue. So as we see, the India's economy is heavily dependent on agriculture. The priority should be given in a job creation to the agriculture sector. We need agro-based industry. We have comparative advantage in agriculture, so that we can be agro-based economy which can export to the world. So we can become export hub of the world. This will reduce the disguised unemployment. This will reduce the rural distress. Today's Express, C. Rangarajan talks about farmer producer organization. That also shows how employment generation related to agriculture can contribute significantly for income of the rural poor. We are talking about the smart cities, but such smart cities will not be possible unless we make our villages smart. What is the first way or first move towards the smart villages is we need more and more employment in a decentralized manner in a rural and agriculture sector. Government can consider to create such kind of decentralized jobs in a green sector or green jobs. That will also helpful for our inclusive growth and sustainable development objectives. Then you must be aware that India is experiencing, or there is emergence of feminization of agriculture in India's context. Feminization of agriculture. More and more women are employed in agriculture, as mainly the migration is male dominated. So we need to encourage women entrepreneurship to have a productive employment. Such kind of if we give priority to women entrepreneurship, women employment, it will have multi-dimensional effect. First, due to economic empowerment, women empowerment will happen. Such kind of empowered women will be self-confident, will be self-reliant, and will participate in a decision making such as Panchayat Raj institution more effectively. There is an example of NGO Action Aid which formed SHG of Yanadi tribal women. When the income of such Yanadi tribal women increased, they more effectively participated in Panchayat Raj institution. Such kind of job creation in perspective of gender is more important when we consider our female labor force participation. Our female labor force participation is merely 20 to 22% by various reports. When we consider example of China, it is about 60 to 60.5%. Such a kind of enabling condition, that is female labor force participation, help China to take full advantage of their demographic dividend. So in short, we can say that our demographic dividend need gender dividend. Then many state that we need a dedicated national employment policy, NEP, national employment policy, as this issue is not only related to jobs, it is a multi-sectoral issue. Such a kind of national employment policy will help government to streamline their effort in employment generation. Then we have to invest heavily in human capital formation, because we have seen one of the primary reasons for India's employment concern is education sector. So we have to consider or balance the accessibility with the quality. Many consider the Gandhiji's Nai Talim should be incorporated in a better way or in today's context to solve the problem. Means since the college days or since the universities, ages, universities, students should be provided industrial training, industrial employment. They should be become more self-reliant from the education days. When major developed countries in the world, share of non-working population is increasing day by day, India have a comparative advantage. When we have seen that 62.5% population of India is in working age. Such a comparative advantage we should be utilized for our well-being, vulnerable people's well-being, as well as overall objectives of the economy. How we do that will depend mostly on how we do with this job crisis. So we will stop here in today's Margis newspaper simplified. Tell us from your side what you feel should be done more to effectively handle this job crisis. Thank you.